When life feels like it's spinning out of control, where do you turn for help? Do you find yourself in a constant battle against the circumstances around you, desperately trying to keep everything under control? Or do you find solace in the unwavering presence of God? Today, we're going to explore the strength of faith and prayer in moments of turmoil and discover how they can be the anchor that keeps us grounded when all else seems to be crashing down around us. The power of faith, how prayer restores inner peace. Have you ever reached a point in your life when you felt like you just couldn't take another step without God's help? When the weight of your problems seemed too heavy to bear and the path ahead looked dark and uncertain? This is the moment when the power of faith and prayer can shine through. In our opening thought today, we touched upon the idea that faith means surrendering what's beyond our control into God's hands. But have you ever wondered what happens when we let go of the need to control everything and instead turn to prayer? How does it change the way we experience life's ups and downs? Imagine a ship tossed about in a stormy sea, waves crashing over it, threatening to pull it under. The captain, though, remains calm. He knows the ship is strong, the crew is skilled, and most importantly, he trusts in the clear skies that lie ahead. Just as the captain surrenders the ship to the winds and waves, trusting in its inherent strength, we, too, can surrender our problems to God. By doing so, we step back from the chaos and create space for faith and prayer to guide us. As we dig deeper into today's topic, we'll be looking at three things. First, we'll explore what it means to pray without ceasing. Second, we'll examine the peace that comes from surrendering our struggles to God. We'll learn practical ways to cultivate faith and prayer in our everyday lives. So stay tuned, because the journey we're about to embark on will undoubtedly transform the way you approach prayer and faith. The first thing we want to talk about is the idea of praying always. But what does that really mean? Does it mean you should spend every waking moment on your knees in prayer? The answer is no. Praying always doesn't refer to the duration or frequency of our prayers, but rather the attitude of our hearts. It's about maintaining a constant connection with God, knowing that He's there for us, and we can turn to Him at any time. This kind of prayer isn't just about asking for solutions to our problems. It's also about aligning our souls with His presence. It's in these quiet moments of surrender that we truly begin to understand the depth of God's love for us. Think of a close friend you can turn to in times of need. Even if you don't talk to them every minute of every day, the mere knowledge that they're there for you brings a sense of comfort and security. Similarly, when we pray always, we remind ourselves that we have a friend in God who cares for us, understands us, and wants the best for us. This realization alone can bring a wave of calmness over our troubled hearts. Consider the beautiful words of Psalm 46 verse 10. Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted above the earth. In this passage, David invites us to be still and recognize God's sovereignty. It's a call to step back from the chaos of our worries and align ourselves with the peace that only God can provide. This psalm reminds us that even in the midst of a storm, God is still in control. And when we acknowledge this truth, we find an inner peace that transcends our circumstances. But it's not just about recognizing God's presence. It's also about communing with Him, pouring out our hearts to Him in both joy and sorrow. The Apostle Paul encourages us to pray without ceasing. Again, this doesn't imply a non-stop prayer session, but rather a continuous, heartfelt communication with God. This kind of prayer can be a simple conversation in your heart, a whispered petition in the morning, or a grateful murmur at the end of the day. It's in these small, consistent acts of communion that we nurture our faith and draw strength from God. The second thing we want to look at is the peace that comes from giving your burdens to God. We often carry our problems like heavy weights on our shoulders, trudging along life's path with each step becoming more burdensome than the last. Burnout, anxiety, fear, and discouragement become our constant companions. But what if we could lighten this load, not just for a moment, but for eternity? What if we could find a peace that doesn't depend on our circumstances? This is the peace that Jesus promises in John 14, verse 27. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. These words are like a soothing balm on a troubled heart. Jesus isn't talking about a superficial or conditional peace. He's offering us a profound, unshakable peace that originates from Him. This peace is meant to be a constant source of comfort and strength, especially when the world around us seems to be crumbling apart. Imagine a bird carrying a twig in its beak, much heavier than the bird itself. The bird, in this case, represents us, burdened by the weight of our problems. As we try to navigate life with these heavy burdens, we become exhausted and discouraged. But if we could learn to release that twig, symbolizing our problems, and place it in the hands of the Almighty, who is able to handle any weight, how much lighter would our load become? This is the peace that faith and prayer offers us. It allows us to step back from the edge of the abyss and find solid ground beneath our feet again. To cultivate this kind of peace, we must acknowledge our struggles, and then consciously choose to surrender them to God. It's not enough to simply acknowledge our problems. We must actively choose to release them into God's hands. This might involve a heartfelt prayer, a moment of quiet reflection, or even a simple act of obedience. By actively choosing to trust in God's plan, we lighten our burdens and open ourselves up to the possibility of experiencing profound peace. And finally, the third thing we want to talk about is how prayer is powerful because it connects us with other believers. The Bible tells us that confess your faults to one another and pray for one another, that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person has great power as it is working. This verse highlights the incredible power of communal prayer. It's not just about praying alone in our rooms. It's also about joining our voices with other believers in a shared act of faith and supplication. Think of a time when you've prayed with other people. Perhaps you've joined hands with fellow church members, friends or family in a time of worship and intercession. Can you feel the energy of shared faith and hope? That's the power of community prayer. When we gather together, our individual faith strengthens, our burdens become lighter, and our hearts find healing. Communal prayer helps us confront our struggles more effectively. Sometimes we can get stuck in our own perspectives, convinced that our problems are unique or too complex for anyone else to understand. However, when we share our struggles with other believers, we gain new insights, words of encouragement, and practical advice. In a sense, we realize that we're not alone in our battles, and that our problems, while challenging, are not insurmountable. One way to harness the power of community in prayer is by joining a prayer group or seeking out a trusted spiritual mentor. These individuals can provide not just emotional support, but also spiritual guidance when we're feeling lost or discouraged. Regular prayer with a community can also help you develop a consistent prayer life. It provides a structure that supports you in making time for prayer, even when life gets busy. It's essential to remember that faith isn't just a once-in-a-while commitment. It's a daily practice, a way of life. Cultivating faith and prayer is like tending to a garden. It requires regular care and attention to grow and flourish. Therefore, committing to a daily prayer routine, ideally at the same time each day, can help you establish a rhythm of faith. Consistency in prayer makes it easier to turn to God when challenges arise, knowing that you already have a relationship with Him. As we come to the end of today's reflection, I challenge you to commit your day to prayer. Take a moment to ask God for His guidance and strength. Trust in His promises and surrender your struggles into His capable hands. Remember, you're not alone. Reach out to other believers for support and fellowship in your time of need. And above all, believe in the power of prayer. Don't just pray because you think God might answer your request. Pray because He has already given you the gift of His presence and the promise of His love. Your problems may seem overwhelming, but when you turn to God in prayer, you tap into a source of strength that is limitless. His peace will guard your heart and mind. His love will be your refuge, and His presence will be your guide. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it with your friends. Also, subscribe to our channel for more insightful Christian video. Thank you for watching, and may you be blessed with God's abundant peace.